officially live. So first off, I'm gonna just jump in and share my screen to kick us all off this afternoon. If you hear clanking in the background, my husband's having a late lunch, so bear with me. And also welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Pennsylvania students, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. Thanks for joining. Very quick housekeeping before we get started today. Please feel free to use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and your microphone are off, so our panelists cannot see or hear you today. And this is one of our many different sessions happening. We would love to see you check out the full schedule at pacac.org. And this presentation is being recorded and it'll be available within about a week at that same website, pacac.org. And with that, it's my pleasure to go ahead and turn this over to our presenters.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, hello there, true believers, and welcome to today's presentation for Gannon University. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to PACAC for this opportunity, but even more importantly, to the students and counselors who are joining us here today. The reality is there are a million things you could be doing right now, and the fact that you are here with us to learn a little bit more about GU and the possibilities within our campus, we are truly thankful and honored. My name is Miles Vita, and my partner in crime, Nathan Kuyan, are members of the Office of Undergraduate Admissions here for GU. For those of you who don't know, the admissions office is typically the one-stop shop for any and all new students as they're starting their college exploration process. Our role on campus is typically regarding and focused primarily on transition. We help students get from where they are to where they can be, in association with all of the paperwork and test scores and transcripts and letters of recommendations and essays on why grandma's your hero and whatnot. Myself, Nathan, and the members of the admissions team kind of go through that paperwork behind the scenes and hope to allow students to transition from high school into college directly and hit the ground running right in that fall semester with being directly admitted into their program of choice or directly accepted into campus and et cetera, et cetera. I imagine here today, there is a little bit of everybody that's in the room here viewing this webinar. So regardless if you are very familiar with Gannon or have a very little knowledge of campus and maybe stumbled upon us because we sounded like that bad guy in your Zelda video game, I want to start at the beginning. And in my opinion, college search starts with fit. And fit for us kind of filters into three key areas. So it kind of starts with who we are. It kind of leads into the size of campus, and then last but not least rolls into the location of campus. And when you start to balance size, identity, and location in any one of those three orders, that's where schools start to separate themselves, and that's where you'll see where schools kind of overlap and the apples and oranges kind of move into their respective groups. For me, for Gannon, and to speak on behalf of Nathan, I think there are three words that best describe who we are. We are small, we are private, and we are urban or suburban with regards to the downtown Erie district. And let me start with size. I think size is the most important characteristic of any school you're going to look at. No pun intended, because it is the most visual characteristic of that school. How many students are you going to class with? How many students are you going to lunch with? How many students are you going to football games and basketball games in the lab, in the library, and every aspect of campus? For us, we rounded off to a nice even number. We're just over 4,000 total students on campus, and that includes both our undergraduate and our graduate population. If we do division one step farther, and we want to know who's just like you, meaning a high school senior who is looking to enroll in a college for the very first time as a part of our fall semester group, that number averages typically around 700 each and every year. So if you do the math in the opposite direction, if you start with a freshman class of 700, you multiply that by sophomores, juniors, and seniors, you start to add in our transfer student population, and that's where that 3,000-ish undergraduate number comes from. And then, as I mentioned, about another 1,000 or so grad students working on master's degree programs or PhD programs. In terms of size, I start there because I think, again, it really sets the tone of who that campus is and the community you're going to immerse yourself within. The next piece of the puzzle, I think, is identity, and that kind of, when I talk to students and I ask them to describe identity, they usually give me two answers. They say, oh, I think Gannon is private. And I say, oh, they think Gannon is Catholic. And both of those answers are 100% correct. However, for me, I like to take the identity piece beyond words like Catholic and private and talk about values. Being a private Catholic institution, what do we value and how do we separate ourselves from some of the other schools that are on your radar or on your profile? For me, I think we value things like service. We value things like volunteerism. We believe in things like wellness. And we believe in things like engagement. And engagement for us is kind of the fancy word for being involved on campus. And engagement in terms of the big picture is, what else do you want to do besides eat, sleep, and study for the next 4 years of your young adult life? Do you want to be involved with athletics? Great. Do you want to be involved with Habitat for Humanity? Great. For me, it was a club volleyball program when I was a grad student on campus. Maybe it's something related to faith and campus ministry, or maybe it's something related to research in your major, in your program. But it's balancing that academic component with that potential social component and having that engagement piece to campus. I mentioned wellness, and I think wellness is a good example being a Catholic institution because it shapes our definition of wellness. And wellness for us is kind of mind, body, and soul wellness, meaning how are we taking care of our students in each and every aspect of life? That mind piece kind of would be the academic piece component. So are you being well in class? Are you doing well in class? Are you need additional services like maybe, a faculty mentor, an advisor, maybe going to office hours, utilizing the Student Success Center on campus, tutoring, the STEM Center, the Writing Center, services in which that list goes on, but are all free of charge to students. That body and soul wellness, I think for us kind of takes, are you taking care of yourself outside the classroom? Time management skills, life management skills. Let's be real, stress management skills. I think life in general is just stress management, and those things affect academic performance. And then I know we've got a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now, but wellness is also personal wellness. Like, are you taking care of yourself, and are you getting enough sleep? Are you utilizing things like the health center on campus to maybe you waking up with a sore throat and maybe you have strep throat or those types of things? We want to make sure our students are well within every aspect. And being a Catholic institution, it's more than just temperatures and fevers and sore throats. And then the last piece of the puzzle is location. And we are located in the tri-state region. So not sure exactly where you call home, but we do welcome a little bit of everybody here on campus. And just to kind of visualize it, we are about 2 hours east of Cleveland. We are about 2 hours west of Buffalo. And we are about 2 hours north of Pittsburgh, kind of tucked away in that tri-state region, right along the lake and the waterfront. Erie, PA is where we call home, and I'm going to turn things over to Nathan here to kind of talk a little bit about his hometown. As an Erie resident, Nathan, what do you have to say about Erie as a whole?
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Nathan Kuyan. Again, I'm one of our admissions counselors on campus. Like Miles said, I am an Erieite. I am from Erie. I grew up here, did almost everything. I've lived here almost my entire life. So that's where I call my hometown. And I grew up right downtown in Erie, right about 4 or 5 blocks from campus, from Gannon. So that kind of plays a role into who our campus is. So as Miles said, we are urban. Our campus is definitely downtown. I'll have a map I'll show next to kind of give that idea that we are downtown. But that kind of plays a key role in our campus here. And that's because you're going to have opportunities. And I think that's kind of as you can see on the slide, the two big things are opportunities. And you kind of have opportunities on campus to do a lot of different things, both recreational as well as research and internship opportunities. So when it comes to Erie and who we are, we're a town of about 100,000 residents. So still have a city, still have that downtown aspect where you have theaters, you have minor league sports teams, but also we are small enough where you can walk basically everywhere, and we don't have these massive skyscrapers or anything of that nature. So you kind of have that size of a city that a lot of people really enjoy. Now, when it comes to other recreational opportunities, being on the lake, we take advantage of that. Presque Isle is our main vacation area for a lot of residents in the local area. We get about 4 million visitors a year to that, and it's a peninsula that goes out into the lake that students have an opportunity to go take advantage of, because it's only a nice short trip from campus. And if you walk right down from campus, you're running directly into the lake. So kind of give that idea that we are downtown. But obviously, you're going to be doing some internships. You're going to be doing some research. And that's definitely who we are on campus, being a smaller institution, being somewhere that we do have opportunities for internships and research. So you can kind of give some idea there throughout the different programs we have available for students. In the science field, we use the lake. We try to take advantage of having the lake there to go out into the local community and use what's around us to help do research and things of that nature. So we have what we call the Environaut, which is actually a research boat that goes out into Lake Erie, does some research opportunities out in the lake to get to take advantage of things that are just away from campus. Being downtown, we have also a good connection with the local hospitals, the main being UPMC Hammett. So it's part of the UPMC network of hospitals. That is only about a stone's throw from campus. So it's about 2 blocks just north and east of campus. So you're looking at right in that downtown area, UPMC Hammett, that hospital setting, and all of their outpatient care facilities. There's a lot of opportunities for clinical experiences at those places through the health science field. So if you're interested in nursing or PA or anything in that health science field, there's a lot of opportunities right close to campus for students to have internships and such. And if you're looking for engineering, we have a whole range of engineering programs on campus. And being in Erie, there's a lot of manufacturing still that happens in Erie that students can get internship opportunities with. WebTech Technologies does have a locomotive plant in Erie that is one of the largest employers of people in the Erie area. So you have a lot of opportunities through the engineering field there, as well as some of the other local plants and manufacturing places in Erie. If you're looking into business, we actually have in our business building is located right in the center of the commercial area of downtown. And has 2 outside corporations located in our business building. Those are the Erie Technology Incubator and the Small Business Development Center. So those are designed to help students grow businesses and help students have an opportunity to have internships and experiences with small businesses, because having hands-on work is something that we really pride ourselves on. And as you can tell, there's a lot of opportunities for that in the local area. So kind of saying that our campus is downtown. We are about 2 blocks just west of State Street, which is the center of downtown Erie. But some people think of urban campuses, they think, okay, does that mean I have to get on a bus and it takes 20 minutes between class every time? No, that's not at all how Gannon's campus is. Our campus still has its own footprint. All of our buildings are located, as you can kind of see on the map behind here, between 2 or 3 blocks east and west, and about 6 or 7 blocks north to south. That big orange building at the top of that map is the rec center. That's the furthest north of campus. All the way about down at the bottom, that's Morosky Academic Center. It's where a lot of our health science majors have classes. That's on 9th Street. So it's between 4th Street, where the rec center is, and 9th Street, which is the furthest south of campus. You're looking at about 10, 15-minute walk maximum, depending on how many people you see on the walk to class, and stop to say hi to people. So as you can tell, basically everything is in a local area and has its own local campus footprint, which we think is pretty awesome, because you have all the cool things you can do in the local community within walking distance, but you still do have a campus feel where you're walking around, you're seeing other Gannon students. You're not necessarily in the middle of a downtown metropolitan area that you are not seeing other students, but you are in an area that you are going to see other students, but still have a nice, easy walk to campus and off campus to some of the local places downtown. So pretty cool place there. I kind of mentioned a couple different buildings on campus, and I like this slide because I think it shows kind of the differences between all of the buildings on campus. These are just a snapshot of a few of them, and I think it kind of shows that all of our buildings are all pretty awesome. And almost every program, you're going to have your own building that you're going to spend a lot of time in. Yeah, you're going to have classes in multitudes of different buildings, but almost every program has a specific building that is designed for them. Which I think is pretty awesome. So as you can tell, there's the Morosky Academic Center. You can see the patients being worked on in the top left there. The building on the top right, you can kind of see the little crime scene. That's for any of our criminal justice students, any of those students going into that field. You can see the studio for any of our students that are interested in digital media marketing and any of those type of programs. And then you can kind of see the honors program, kind of that side there. That's in our Palumbo Academic Center, which is where a lot of our humanities students will have a lot of their coursework. But you can kind of tell, I like the right in the middle, the Nash Library. The Nash Library is one of our newest remodeled buildings. It is a library where a lot of students will have ability to get out all those books. But I think something that's neat about it is there is student services right in the library. The Writing Center for campus that Miles kind of mentioned a little bit earlier is located in the library. And those are because we know students are going to be doing research, and we want to be in a place where students are able to go use those services. Sometimes people think of like the student success and all these other services, and they're kind of, you never think about them until you need them. Well, we want you to think about them. We want you to take advantage of the things we have available, because it's only going to make you a better student in the long run. So we try to put those right in areas where students are able to access them and have an easy access to them. So the library kind of plays that role with the Writing Center right in the basement. And you'll have classes in the Writing Center too, which I think is something, they're in the library too, which I think is pretty cool. So some academic programs on campus. So when we're looking at academic programs, we have a whole range of academic programs, and I kind of mentioned a couple different fields that we're located in, and I think it kind of plays a key role of what we are here. We have a good range of things like in the health sciences, like kind of mentioned, nursing. We have PA, we have direct doctorate programs for physical therapy. We have direct entry master's programs for things like occupational therapy and athletic training. So there's a lot in that health science field that students will have the ability to take on campus and get all the way to that desired career path down the line. We have 6 or 7 different engineering programs. Those range from mechanical, your more traditional mechanical, and your industrial and robotics engineering, to some newer ones like biomedical engineering and cyber engineering, some other programs that are a little bit on the cutting edge of new areas of study. But we always also have your more traditional majors like your business, education, criminal justice. And a lot of those are designed to help students really go that route they want to go. As you can see, we have a whole different range of programs available for students, and they all kind of range in that field that we are a smaller university where you will have hands-on work. As you can see, the average class size of being 19, students are going to have small class sizes. You're going to have in your lab settings for any of our programs, you're going to have smaller classes to actually do that hands-on work that students really appreciate of campus. And we have a lot of great faculty on campus. So any major that you're part of, you're going to have an advisor that is actually teaching in that major to help them so you know exactly, okay, you have somebody to go to if you have questions. And we kind of want you to go to those people if you have questions, because they are mentors. They're teaching in that field and they have that knowledge. So we want you to use them. And that's something that we really push on campus. Students are required to take certain coursework on campus in that liberal arts core to allow students to have that well-rounded education. So yeah, it's great that you know everything about a certain major, but we do want students to have a little bit of a well-rounded education when you leave Gannon, so then you know how to interact with certain groups of people, depending on if you're never had any experience with that in college. We want you to have those conversations with people that are just going to be different than you when you actually go out, and because they're doing different things, different programs. So having that liberal arts core, we find, is really, really important for our students, and something that our students really appreciate. Learning something outside their field is something that students really do appreciate on campus. So kind of the admissions process side of things. So it's great, you know all this academic stuff, you know about Gannon, who we are. Now it's the time to apply. So when you're looking at applications to Gannon, we accept application kind of a number of different ways. However you want to send it to us, we'll take it. So you can kind of see we have a couple different ways. Through our own application on our website, you can print that off and send it in the mail. You can do it on our website, that's great. Or you can use the Common application. So we are a member of the Common App schools. So if you're using that already, that's great. You can look up Gannon through Common application and apply through that way as well. Majority of our students will apply through that way, just because that is something that we realize students really like, where you can put everything up on it and make it a little bit easier down the line. This year, we are requiring kind of some changes, made some changes to the requirements for application to majors. So this year we are basically, for most programs, your high school transcript is going to be that #1 thing we're going to be asking for. We have made ACT and SAT test scores optionals for almost all programs on campus. There's only 1 or 2 programs that are going to require those scores, and 1 or 2 cases that will require those, and we will ask you for those if you apply to that program. But for almost all programs on campus, ACT and SATs are optional because we don't know if students have had the ability to take them, so we don't want to harm you in that sense. And then there is also certain programs that are going to require letters of recommendation and personal essays. Again, we will tell you if those programs that you're applying to require those. I know Miles is going to mention at least 1 program that will require those a little bit later on, but for the most part, those are only optional and required for certain programs on campus. But as you can see, we kind of make it pretty easy to apply. We want students to apply because it makes it a little bit, we just want students to apply to campus. So we try to make it as easy for those students to have that ability to apply to campus and see if Gannon is the right place for them. So I'll move it over to Miles for the rest of admission stuff.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Rock on. With regards to the application, first and foremost, it is free. What we want to do is be accessible to each and every student, regardless of background. So the online application via the Gannon website is 100% free, 100% of the time. If you're looking through all of these credentials and you say, Miles and Nathan, these sound great, but how do we actually drill down a step farther into the processing of these things? First and foremost, we are under a rolling admissions process, and rolling admissions is kind of a fancy term for we process them as we receive them. So the application that comes in on Monday is reviewed by the committee before the application that comes in on a Tuesday, and it continues to cycle through the calendar accordingly. There are a few exceptions to that rule, and probably the #1 exception to that rule is our 5-year direct entry physician assistant program, which does have a very specific November 15th deadline. So other programs across campus have some flexibility with regards to when that paperwork can kind of come in. The PA program, due to limited seat enrollment, is very, very firm with their application deadline. With regards to limited seat enrollment, the PA program is not the only one that kind of has that unique quirk associated with them. Things like rad science, respiratory care, occupational therapy, and nursing, in addition to PA, have limited seat enrollment. We talked about being a small institution at the very forefront of this presentation, and that kind of goes with the grounds. We do require clinicals for each and every one of those health science programs, and for us, we are not going to bring in 100 students knowing that we only have 40 or 50 seats available to them at that clinical stage and have you guys battle royal it out over the course of 3 to 4 years. We try to create a cooperative education environment as opposed to a competitive education environment, but there is still a piece of competitiveness, and that competitiveness falls under the application window when you're a senior as compared to a student working together on campus. That admissions criteria is submitted to the committee, and the committee is members like myself and Nathan who have a chance to kind of review that stuff. Not only do we look at your cumulative GPA, we also look at the surplus of classes that you took to create that GPA. So if you imagine your GPA as a cup, Gannon tests it to make sure that it does hold water. And so we do look at, hey, you've got a 3.8 GPA, congratulations, you've worked hard at your respective school. However, where are your honors? Where are your AP? Where are your IB? Where are all those college prep style courses? For us, test scores are either optional or blind, as Nathan mentioned, but you can submit them if you choose, and if you think it would enhance your application in any way, shape, or form. And last but not least, we're looking for leadership. And leadership is, for us, kind of that buzzword that incorporates everything else that you have on campus. So activities, clubs, programs, part-time job, work experience, the entire gambit. Probably the biggest mistake that I see students do is they only list leadership activities that are affiliated with their school. It is not at school, it is in the time frame of school, meaning in the last 4-year window. So if you're involved with Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, or maybe you're babysitting or working part-time at Home Depot or Target or Chick-fil-A or Chipotle, and the list goes on, be sure to incorporate that stuff, because that does showcase things like time management and work and personal life balance. Maybe you're playing a sport, but it may not be through the high school. Maybe it's through a community center, or it's associated with I don't know, a faith group and a church group or those types of things. Be sure to list everything. And that leadership component is the opportunity for you to kind of brag a little bit and kind of showcase who you are and what makes you special and unique. There are a few other things that kind of come into play. We do accept AP credits. We do accept dual enrollment credits. We've got a great question from a student that's in the chat right now. We also accept IB credits. Those do come through. You are able to potentially earn some additional college credit as you're working your way through here. So potentially things like the humanities profiles and your Englishes and your histories and whatnot, may be able to get some college credit for those and build those in. Those credits are not evaluated up front at time of application. Those credits are valued at the back end as associated with orientation and will be applied to your schedule accordingly as we meet with your academic advisor and they build your fall semester schedule. For us, the enrollment deposit is kind of that confirmation piece of the puzzle. So while we go through the application and the accept and mail you the paperwork and congratulations, all that is well and good, but we're tossing the ball back to you. And then you toss the ball back to us for a second time with your confirmation. And that enrollment confirmation is the deposit, which then will hold your seat not only on campus, but then within your respective program. The other piece of the puzzle too that I think is important is campus visits. And we do list that as part of the admissions puzzle, if you will, because we want to make sure that everything looks great on paper, everything sounds good in an audio clip, everything looks great in a brochure, but it's actually putting the time and effort in to walk through the campus and see the facilities firsthand. It's one thing for you to hear that we offer a physician assistant program and to apply to a physician assistant program and to be admitted to a physician assistant program. But it's another thing to physically go and view the physician assistant labs and meet with the physician assistant faculty and kind of talk about programs and academics and support services firsthand, and you're able to touch and see things with your own two eyes. So although it's not something technically you submit, it is something that I think is very important as we go through that entire process. In addition to your application, financial aid kind of goes hand in hand. And for us, the application for admission is also the application for financial aid, and those two pieces kind of go side by side. For us, the merit-based award is based off the same criteria that the admissions piece is. So you're looking at GPA and leadership and that hard work that you've put in for the last 4 years. That dollar figure is presented to you very upfront. So when you get your letter that says congratulations, you'll also have a letter that showcases your merit-based award. You'll be able that dollar figure to know that dollar figure is renewable for up to 5 years of undergraduate coursework should you need it. You basically have a year safety net if something were to happen while you're on campus and it were to delay graduation. All of our programs for traditional bachelor's degree programs are geared as 4-year programs. We want to welcome you to campus, but we also want to get you out of here in a 4-year window. I'm sure your parents want you to get out in a 4-year window. And for us, that fifth year of safety net of merit-based money is there if and when a student may or may not need it. We also offer some other things that happen throughout the course of the year. We have what we like to refer to as open house competitions. I know this year open house is kind of a virtual program, but they do have things related to major and program. These are what we consider Gannon self-help awards. So it's a competition. It is not required. It is something that you would do above and beyond on a Saturday morning. And this year it's virtual, but it is an opportunity to get some additional dollars put on your profile that not every student is going to get. If you have a background in art or music, there is a separate application for our Art and Music Award. Granted, art and music have nothing to do with major. It is just something that you have a passion for in your free time or in your background. And for us, it's a very loose definition of art. It's a fine art. So we're talking dance, we're talking theater, we're talking photography. Do you play the guitar? Do you sing in the choir? All of those things would qualify. If you are extremely high academic, we do offer a full tuition scholarship contest. The key is, though, it does have a December 15th application window. So you must have your application be applied and accepted by December 15th in order to be invited. Typically, it's the top 10% of our applicant pool. And if you do think that you're incredibly high academic, that would be something you'd want to reach out to us here. And then we also offer some things related to leadership. We have some diversity and service awards, and we are a member of raise.me. If you want to look at some micro scholarships, all of which can build upon each other to offer the most competitive package possible and help offset some of those costs of tuition. But cost is great, academics are great, but how else are you going to fill your free time? And you want to talk a little bit maybe about our Learning Abroad program, Nathan?
Yeah, definitely. So when we're looking at learning abroad, I think something that a lot of students think is, oh, that's nothing I want to do. And they don't kind of think about it their freshman year when they come in, but it's something that a lot of students do take advantage of here on campus at Gannon. So we do have your traditional semester, year, and summer opportunities where students do go away for a semester or whatever to a partner institution in a different country. And those are the most traditional students will take advantage of those. And almost every program has a bit availability to do those. But we do also partner and have different programs that are faculty-led programs. These are trips sometimes for research. Some of our biology students, environmental science students have the opportunities to go to some of those places like Ecuador and Costa Rica and those kind of places on faculty-led programs where they're going and doing research in those areas. But I think the coolest thing that Gannon has in these programs is what we call our travel program. Our travel program is something that's kind of a mixture between cultural learning as well as kind of a fun trip that students will take advantage of. And these are basically 10 to 15-day trips that take place after the spring semester, sometime in late May, early June is the traditional time. And those, how they are run is there's 10 to 15 students in a group with 2 faculty or staff advisors. And you kind of create these, you kind of end of your spring semester, you apply to go on one of these travel trips for the next year. And kind of throughout your whole academic year, you're meeting with your groups of these students that are going on these trips and creating those connections, but also creating that trip that you're going to end up attending. So some of our students in the background of this slide, you can tell they kind of went to Rome and they had a great time with it. So this is something that a lot of students do take advantage of because it is after the semester. It makes it a little bit easier for students to have that ability, that flexibility to attend. We're always adding new ones. We have people that go all over the world for these travel trips, and something that students will learn about the culture, but also do have a little bit of fun added on to it. Another big thing that students really take advantage of is through social learning, or service learning, excuse me. So our Center for Social Concerns and Office for Campus Ministry put on these, what we call our alternative break service trips. And these are exactly how they sound. So during spring break, as well as other breaks, students have abilities to go and help a community that is much needed. Those can be in the United States. We have groups of students that one of our tour guides always gives the example. She went to Detroit and helped in a community garden in Detroit. But those can also be international. We have students that have gone down to Haiti. We have students that have gone down to Ecuador, to different places in Africa, like South Africa and Morocco, to help help those areas that they're attending in whatever they need. We have people that help teach and do others and build homes and do kind of a whole wide range of things to help people that are a little bit less fortunate than us. And that's something that kind of plays a role throughout all of campus, is that service learning, where there's a lot of service-based opportunities on campus. And those kind of come to play in our clubs and organizations. So being a student on campus, yeah, you're going to be in class, you're going to be doing all of that stuff. But outside the classroom, students do want to get involved. We want students to get involved because it is something that all students should be doing with their fellow students. So there's a lot of opportunities there. We have over 100 different clubs and organizations, and they kind of all range, as you can see, from Greek life to service-based organizations to student government to activities programming board to different academic-based organizations. And these all range depending on what you want to get involved with. So there's kind of a whole range of things that students can get involved with on campus, but a good number of them do have service-based background to them. So we want students to get involved in the local community. We are in a downtown area where students can walk to the local, to the Erie City Mission, or the Salvation Army, and help people that are a little bit less fortunate than us. And that's something that kind of is intertwined in our culture here on campus, as well as through our student culture, and intertwined with a lot of our clubs and organizations. So there's a lot to do outside the classroom. There's a lot to do in the classroom, but there is also a lot to do outside the classroom when it comes to helping the local community, but also having different organizations that students can get involved with. Last bit I always want to mention is, oh, Miles, my computer's about to die. I'll be right back if you want to finish this up.
All righty. With us, the Rec and Wellness Center is a opportunity for students who may or may not want to play at the varsity level, but to utilize some of those other pieces of the puzzle. The Rec and Wellness Center went through a modernization process here in 2014. We took what was the old rec center and turned it into what is now a fantastic Rec and Wellness Center. Not only was the 80-yard field house added, which is what you're seeing in the backdrop of this slide, but we were able to add a juice bar. We were able to add a fitness center. We were able to add the academic component associated with it as well. The academic piece for us was the exercise lab for our masters in athletic training and our physical therapy and our occupational therapy students, as well as the movement lab, which were great resources. Those pieces there have evolved and have now been able to add a pro bono clinic, which is kind of cool. So for physical therapy and occupational therapy, folks from the Erie area who may not have insurance or whatnot to pay for rehab in terms of like, you know, a broken leg or ankle or whatnot, and they need to go through physical therapy, that rehab service is able to be facilitated, you know, free of charge by our students to those in need from the local Erie area. We've been able to upgrade our equipment program as well as our fitness classes. And by adding the field house, it created a trickle-down effect. For me, being a member of the club volleyball team and coach, more specifically now, of the club volleyball team, for us to be able to have more space in the gymnasium. There are 3 side-by-side basketball/volleyball courts, as well as a 1/10 of a mile indoor track that is kind of in the mezzanine level that's suspended above them, as well as a handful of racquetball courts and whatnot. And for us to be able to have that facility for not only our varsity athletes, but some of our club athletes, for some of our intramurals, and the general public of campus that just wants to be fit, you know. And I started this presentation with the word fit, and then I'm also going to end the presentation with the word fit in kind of a little bit different definition. But being active on campus, I think, is crucial. And for us, the Rec and Wellness Center, you know, is able to utilize that regardless if you're there to be competitive, regardless if you're there just to walk on the treadmill. They've got really cool treadmill desks. So even if you just want to read your English book and stand on the treadmill and kind of get some steps in or some mileage in while you're doing that, it's a wide array, which is fantastic. And the fact that I mentioned earlier about the wellness program, you know, wellness program goes for faculty and staff just as much as it goes for students. And the fact that we are encouraged to get out and utilize these facilities just as much as the students do, it creates a nice cross collaboration where, yeah, you have this professor, or you have this faculty member, and you see them at 8 a.m. Monday morning, and you start to get to know them as the semester progresses. But hey, maybe you're going to run into them in the library. Maybe you're going to run into them in the cafeteria. There's a high probability chance that you're going to run into them in the Rec and Wellness Center. So not only do you develop that in-classroom connection with some of these people, you connect with those individuals outside the classroom over other things like self-interests or maybe sports teams or fitness or whatever. And for me, the additional connections that I've made to campus based on things like the Rec and Wellness Center has been absolutely fantastic. So I think that officially kind of wraps up the pre-prepared slides that we have. We did have a couple of questions that came in. One is right on path with what we're talking about right now, and that is athletics. So Nathan, do you want to talk a little bit about varsity athletics?
Yeah, definitely. So with varsity athletics, we are a Division II NCAA university. So we have 22 different varsity athletic teams in that Division II level. And we have a good range of them as well. So there's everything that you have, the more traditional sports, football, basketball, women's and men's basketball, baseball, softball, swimming, men's and women's swimming. And then we do have some other sports that like a lot of students do actually take advantage of, and some students don't realize we have, and that is the 3 different cheer teams that are varsity level sports. And so the other, like something like women's lacrosse is also something that's very well attended and a lot of students take advantage of. We have your men's and women's soccer. We have women's volleyball in the fall. So there's a large range of things that students do get involved in at the athletic level. And a lot of students do appreciate that. So we are members of the PACAC, which is the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Basically, it is all the, we compete against a lot of the state universities in Pennsylvania, as well as a couple other universities in the general area in Western PA, as well as Eastern PA. But traditionally, we compete against schools in Western PA in the PSAC, and that's kind of the conference we're in. And yeah, those are varsity athletics. The best thing I always say with varsity athletics is go to our website, reach out to the coaching staff as best as you can. Because yes, we have connections. Like I talked to the women's lacrosse coach a very lot. Miles, with his experience in the volleyball community at the club level, does have a good connection with the women's volleyball coach. But the best way to get your name to them is through talking to them, and not necessarily going through us as much. That's because we don't have the same connection with them as the athletes do. So I always recommend reaching out to them. And like I said, we're in Division II level, so our athletic teams are able to give out athletic scholarships in that level as well. So, yep, that kind of answer there, Miles.
Absolutely, fantastic job. And the only piece that I would like to add is there is an official recruitment form on the Gannon Athletics page. It is broken down by sport, so it will ask you some specific questions regarding the sport that you do participate in. Once you hit submit, that goes directly to the coach. So that is a good way to break the ice if you are a little bit intimidated in reaching out to the coach with a blind phone call or a blind email. At least they'll have access to some of your information and some of your accolades before you pick up the phone and give them a call. So I know we're about out of time here. And so on behalf of Gannon and everyone involved with this process, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of today's program and today's presentation. And if I were to leave you with one piece of advice, and that's just focus on getting as much knowledge as you can about the different types of universities that are out there. Baskin-Robbins offers 32 flavors for a reason, and that's because everybody likes something different. So get out there, see the big schools of the world, the small schools of the world, and everything in between, and know that what is right for you may not be right for your best friend or your brother, your sister, your aunt, or uncle. And all of these people in your lives are going to give you advice, and kind of take it with a grain of salt and start to do some of that research for yourself and schedule a campus visit and walk around. We'd love to see you on campus in the near future. Our contact information is in the bottom right-hand corner there. Admissions@gannon.edu will come directly into our office, as well as our phone number of 814-871-7404. We'll get you in and get you taken care of. If there's anything that I can do for you, please be in touch. And on behalf of Gannon and Nathan, have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Hey, that was amazing timing. So thank you. And are you guys ready for me to kind of jump in and wrap us up? All right, awesome. I always just like to double check. All right. So kind of just a big thank you for joining us today. When you close the window, there's going to be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We do appreciate any feedback that you can provide. And then, as I said at the beginning, this is one of our many sessions being hosted. We'd love to see you back. Please feel free to check out the full schedule at pacac.org. And in just about a week, you will be able to find this session's recordings, as well as all of our other sessions recordings, same website, pacac.org. And with that, thank you, students. Thank you, presenters. Have a great night.